Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. Obviously, we have some comments on recent stuff that's made the news regarding Chief Maddrey. There's a lot of stuff we can't tell you because we are anticipating litigation in the civil context, but there is a lot we want to tell you to set the record straight, because there's a lot out there in the media that is just not correct or is only telling half of the story, and that's why we called this press conference. So thank you for being here so that we can set the record straight as best we can. Jeff Maddrey started off in the NYPD as a traffic agent. In his over 34 years with the NYPD, he worked himself up from traffic agent to police officer to sergeant to lieutenant, all the way up to the highest ranking uniformed member of the NYPD, chief of department. That was about 2 years ago. Of this year has been under investigation by the Internal Affairs Bureau of the NYPD for putting in for overtime she never completed. So she's under investigation for stealing time and putting in for overtime that she never worked. With her hand in the cookie jar, and is trying to deflect her wrongdoing by making these allegations against Chief Maddrey in the hopes that she'll get away with part or all of her scheme. However, the truth is, Lieutenant Epps had a consensual adult relationship, albeit for a short time, with Jeff. And we have tons of evidence by way of text messages, photographs, videos, phone records, and X-rated and racy videos and photographs from Lieutenant Epps, who is a self-professed swinger. And we have all this evidence because she sent it to Chief Maddrey in her attempts to have him begin a relationship with her. Ultimately worked it. In fact, last year, there were 415 members of the NYPD that made over $100,000 in overtime. A member of the NYPD puts in for overtime, they have to fill out what's called a slip. That slip has to be signed by a supervisor. That supervisor is never a chief. There are people within chiefs' offices who are tasked with making sure that slips are appropriate and have to be approved, and that's where you see the bottom where they sign it, for the cordial, congenial work environment they had. She even texted that night to the chief her gratitude. 2 days later, the Internal Affairs Bureau, we believe, suspended her for the issue with her overtime, which the decision to suspend her had nothing to do with Chief Maddrey. He didn't have a hand in it or a decision. And now she claims she was suspended in retaliation for a complaint But guess what? The complaint was 2 days later. So I'm not sure what complaint she's referring to. The outpouring of support from the community has been overwhelming, the communities he used to serve. Yet others are deciding to pour onto the false allegations. There's a Captain Gabrielle Walls who's been suing the New York Police Department for some months now. She's a captain. And she decided, and in her filings prior to current, never mentioned a single word about Chief Maddrey. But she recently amended her complaint, and her attorney said, we're adding Chief Maddrey and former Commissioner Caban to get attention. And now she believes she can call him a sexual predator. We don't think so. The Tabitha Foster case, Attorney Sanders ditched his client and ran for the hills. She got other attorneys, but that case was dismissed, and she now has to pay costs for bringing her meritless case. Perhaps that lawyer had something to do with Lieutenant Epps' sudden about face. I don't know, but time will tell, because we are prepared to litigate every issue. He's going to take the gloves off and fight for his good name going forward. And he looks forward to proving that these allegations are nothing more than an attempt to skirt criminal liability. We thank you all for coming, and we're not going to be taking any questions at this time. However, we will be contacting one or two of you for one-on-one interviews in the near future, okay? Thank you very much.
Have you talked to the Manhattan DA's office? Mr. Maddrey, why did you have
Manhattan DA's office has not reached out to anybody.
Where's Mrs. Maddrey?
Do you think it's appropriate to have a relationship with the subordinate, even consensual?
Would behave in this way is currently in custody. We're working on that. We're working on trying to go back and trace when she entered the subway system and exactly, if there's a clear shot of her case.
I'm sorry I'm late, so I apologize. If you answer this, I will do two things. Number one, have you guys identified the victim yet? And number two, what is going on with the written court today?
Okay, so we announced a few minutes ago the indictment. The judge received the indictment today, murder in the first degree, 3 counts of murder in the second degree, arson in the first degree. The defendant, through his lawyer, waived his appearance, so he was not brought up to court, but he is due back in court in person on January 7th, where the indictment will be unsealed and he will be arraigned on the indictment at that time. What was your second question?
Her identity.
Unknown as of yet, but a lot of work has been going into trying to identify her.
Has any family reported anybody missing?
There's always people missing in New York City, so we're working through those leads, but I wouldn't want to speculate.
What do you think about Mr. Adams and other congresspersons who want the death penalty that is only possible in federal ways?
There is no death penalty in the state of New York, so that's why the maximum penalty here is life without the possibility of parole, and we charged that count in order to make sure that we can seek that penalty. We have a long way to go. This is really the first significant step of today, holding him accountable. Is going to be the felony arraignment, again on January 7th, and then the trial team here will work to pursue justice. And of course, it's a priority for me, the office, for the police department to identify this woman so we can notify her family of what had happened to her. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Today we take our first significant step towards pursuing justice in this case with the grand jury having indicted Sebastian Cepeda with 4 counts of murder in the first degree, 3 counts of murder in the second degree, and arson in the first degree. These are significant counts. Murder in the first degree carries the possibility of life without parole. It's the most serious statute in New York State law, and my office is very confident about the evidence in this case and our ability to hold Cepeda accountable for his dastardly deeds. We believe very strongly that this case belongs in state court because of the charges here are more significant in state court than currently in federal court. But we have a very strong working relationship with our federal partners, and of course we'll always do what's in the best interest of the people of the state of New York and in the city of Brooklyn, because we want to make sure that he's fully held accountable. On January 7th, the indictment will be officially unsealed in court at arraignment. We expect the body to be present in the courtroom. Mr. Cepeda, today he waived his appearance here in court, so January 7th will be the first day where we expect to have him in court when he's arraigned on the felony indictment. I want to assure the people of the city that this office will do everything in our power to hold him accountable. This was a malicious deed, a sleeping, vulnerable woman on our subway system. This act surprised many New Yorkers as they were getting ready to celebrate the holidays. But now New Yorkers are waking up and understanding that on the 22nd of this year, this happened. This was intentional, and we proved to prove this in the court of law. I want to thank the grand jurors in this case, right around the holiday, to see the video and the images of a woman set on fire is very hard to deal with. And so I want to thank them for serving on jury duty and coming to the only conclusion that I think is supported by the evidence in this case, that there's reasonable cause to believe and pursue the charges against Mr. Cepeda. Standing here with me, Lila Rossini. She is the head of the Homicide Bureau, and Assistant District Attorney Matt Perry, who's going to be the lead prosecutor on this case. If there are any questions, I'll take them now.
Can you explain what all of it's
In this particular case, the allegations of the arson, setting the arson on the train, a woman causing her to be engulfed by flames, allows it to be charged as first-degree murder 1. It's the most serious charge. Most of the time, it's charged in the connection of killing of multiple people or the killing of a law enforcement officer.
What steps are you taking to identify this woman?
Yes. As many of you know, the criminal court complaint and the indictment at this time indicates the death of a Jane Doe. The police and the medical examiner's office, many investigators are working to identify her. Her body was badly burned, and so advanced fingerprinting efforts are being made, as well as advanced DNA evidence to identify her. We have made some progress in that area, but I'm not at liberty to get into specifics now. And of course, our hearts go out not only to this victim, but we know that there's a family. Just because someone appears to have been living, in this situation of homelessness does not mean that there's not going to be family devastated by the tragic way she lost her life. Not at this time. At this time, watched the video, and I'm sure many of you have seen the video, it's clear that it appears a lighter was used to set her on fire, and that's our working theory on the case right now. Yes. On the murder one, the top charge is life without the possibility of parole, and of course on standard murder, the top count is 25 years to life. There's also the arson charge, and there's a possibility that some of this could run consecutively.
The response of the police officer was walking by.
Well, we know that the officer attempted to get a fire extinguisher to douse the flame. So I'm not going to speak more on that particular issue other than we believe that the officer, considering all the circumstances, all the smoke and flames that were in the train car at that time, did the most that he could do at this time. Yes. Yes. This was an act that the question was, why do we want to keep it in state court? There are two basic principles here. One is I have a lot of confidence in the people of Brooklyn and the people who come and serve on jury duty here, and I think that this crime took place in New York City, in Brooklyn, and that the people of this county should serve on the jury there. Second, very simply, state law is more significant